Hey, what's up? It's Nathan here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to start and manage a Bitcoin Lightning node. Now this video is going to be pretty long, so I'll have some timestamps down in the description below, so if you want to skip ahead or jump to what's important to you, go ahead, description down below, do that. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So I have a few assumptions that I'm making here if you're watching this video. I assume you already have a Bitcoin node. Now I'm using an Umbrel node, but if you have my node or some other node platform, then that should be fine. The main thing is that you have ThunderHub and Ride the Lightning. Those are the two main tools that I'll be using during this video. So if you have these tools, you should be able to follow along with no problem. I also hope you understand the basic concept of what a channel is. If you don't, go ahead and watch the first 5 minutes of this video right here. Link in the description down below. Watch that video. Also, as we set up these channels, you'll learn kind of about the channels as well and what they are. Learn by doing. So you'll learn about like inbound liquidity and outbound liquidity and how that kind of works together. So you'll between this video and actually doing it, you'll understand channels by the end. In this video, we're going to cover some LND configuration settings, so like the color and alias or name of our node, set up some default fees, we'll install Watchtower, I'll talk about it when we get to it. And then we're going to go ahead and find a node to emulate. So I find one of the best ways to start a Lightning node is to copy something that's already working. So we find a node that's already working, figure out what channels they have, and go ahead and establish similar channels and maybe charge a little less. So that way we get some traffic to our node, but we're going to go through that process here. We'll talk about opening channels and setting those fees. We'll talk about getting inbound liquidity, so that way you can, route payments. We'll talk about how you can have people connect to you and how you can send and receive payments. And then we'll get into managing your node, which I think is a very important piece of it. So we'll talk about rebalancing. So we can do manual rebalancing, or we can go ahead and adjust fees and essentially, naturally rebalance by reducing our fees or increasing our fees based off of where our liquidity is. So we'll talk about that when we get to it. There are a couple of tools like rebalance-lnd and charge-lnd that can help automate this process. I'm not going to cover them in this video, but I'll have other videos where you could learn more about how to automate rebalancing or automatically adjusting your fees. Then we'll talk about finding new nodes to connect to and how you can increase your centrality. So basically how you become have more connections, basically. More important, basically, is centrality. And then we'll talk about maintaining inbound and outbound liquidity. We'll talk about closing channels, reports, and backing up channel states. So that way, if your node goes offline or something like that, you can go ahead and restore your channels and, get your funds back. So we have a lot to cover. Again, timestamps are in the description below. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So we're going to talk about the LND configuration file. And I have this article as well here, which can be helpful, and explaining like what to do and how to edit it. But we're going to go through a few key settings right now. So what I need to do is enter the command line of my node. So again, I'm on Umbrel, but my node I'm sure has something similar. So I'm going to open up the command prompt right here. And then I go ssh-t umbrel at umbrel.local. And then I throw in my Umbrel password. And I am now in my Umbrel. And now I have to go ahead and open my LND configuration file. So it's sudo nano and umbrel lnd and lnd.conf. And I think I had cnf on here. Whoops, conf configuration. So make sure you have the O in there. We'll run that real quick. Ask for my Umbrel password again. So I type that in there. And so this is our Umbrel configuration file. I want to move it over here. And we're going to go ahead and look at this article here for more information. So first things first, we can go ahead and add a name to our node here, or an alias. So we have alias here. And this goes under the application options setting. So you should see application options here. And you can't use your mouse to click in here. You have to use the arrow key. So arrow down and you see application options, right? So application options. And we have to add alias because I don't see it in here. So I'll make a space and type in alias and equals. And then I'll type in toad node. So that's pretty cool, right? I like that name. We can also add a color. You just add color equals to, and then it's going to be your hex color. So I have a hex color right here that I'm going to go ahead and add, which is a nice green toad-like colored. So 70A331. All right, so I have my new alias and a color. All right, that's good. We're going to come on down here to, actually, let's come up here to Watchtower real quick. So Watchtower, basically, it watches your node if your node goes offline. And if your node goes offline, then the other node that you have a channel with could do some sketchy stuff and change like current state of your channel. They could revert to an old state where they have more Bitcoin on their side, and then they could close the channel and basically steal some of your Bitcoin. And what Watchtower does is it watches to make sure that they don't do that. So if your node goes offline, Watchtower will be watching to make sure nothing sketchy happens. Okay, so you want to go ahead and set this up, and since we're already in the LND config file, we might as well go ahead and do it real quick. So adding the following to your lnd.conf should do the job. So let's just go ahead and we're just going to add some spaces right there. I'm going to copy this whole bit right here, copy, and then I just right click here and it'll paste what's on my clipboard. So I pasted that in there, and just like that, I have Watchtower kind of installed. We do have to do a couple more steps, which we'll talk about in a second here, but that's all we have to do for the lnd.conf file is these lines right there. All right, there's one other thing we want to go ahead and do while we're here. We got alias. We want to do some fees, some default fees. All right, so here we're looking for the Bitcoin section. So we have Bitcoin down here. So I'm going to scroll on down here and set some fees, some base fees. So Bitcoin base fee equals to 0. So I'm going to set my base fee to 0. We'll talk about fees when we set up our channels, so you'll know more what a base fee is versus a fee rate and what the difference is. But a good practice is 0 base fee, and then you make your fee on the fee rate. But you can always update this LND file, LND config file, if you want to change it. So it's no big deal. It's not set in stone or anything like that. But I'm going 0, and then Bitcoin dot fee rate is equal to 100. So that's going to be my default fee rate right there. So what we did here is we added an alias and a color, and we enabled Watchtower, and we set our default base fee and fee rate. And that's all we wanted to do right now in this LND config file. You can read this article and see if there's any other options you want to go ahead and set, as the default. Entirely up to you. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control X. That little caret thing right there means Control and X. So Control X for exit, and then save modified buffer would be Y, yes, and then enter because we want to keep that same file name. So enter there. All right, cool. So we've updated our file, but now what we have to go ahead and do is restart LND. So I'm going to copy this command right here. And again, I'm on Umbrel, so this is the command I use. However, if you're on a different node software, you might have some other command to restart LND. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that whole thing in there and run it real quick. Alrighty, so LND has restarted. Now it says done here, but it takes a little bit longer than that in my experience. So one thing that I do is I come over to my node and I go to Lightning, and then I make sure that I can see the version of LND that I'm running. If it shows the version, then I know that it has rebooted. If it hadn't rebooted, it would be blank or something like that. So Umbrel does it. I don't know if my node does, but yeah, make sure LND is loaded back up, and then we can go ahead and add the Watchtower that's going to be watching our node. So to do that, I'm going to come to this article right here, and it gives us this snippet of code or command. I'm going to just put it up here for now. And basically what I need to go ahead and do is add a URI to a friend. So a friend, basically somebody else's node is going to be watching my node. So if my node goes offline, my friend will be watching it to watch for any state changes. And my friend in this case is going to be Lightning Network Plus. Now there's a bunch of other friends you can go ahead and use. They're called altruistic nodes, I think. I think there's a link somewhere. I don't know. LND Watchtowers, maybe. I don't know. Somewhere there's a list of Watchtowers that you can go ahead and add. But I'm going to be using Lightning Network Plus, and if you want to add more, you can do it if you understand these instructions here. Okay, so basically I need to grab this address here and add it to that snippet of code that I have over here. So I have this address here. This is the URI information, URI right here. And then I'll just go ahead and copy this whole thing, and then I'll paste it in here and run it. And cool, so that should have worked. I can go ahead and confirm that it has worked by doing this right here. We'll paste that in here. And I can see the watchtower that I am connected to. And if I was connected to multiple watchtowers, I would see them all listed out here. And then we also have the stats command. I might as well do that while we're here. Throw it in there. And there we go. There are my stats. Of course, they're all 0 because I just did it. But yeah, over time, if you run this command again and again, you might see some stats increasing here. But that pretty much covers it for our LND configuration settings. We did our alias and our color, our default fees. We installed Watchtower, and then we're going to get into finding a node to emulate now. But real quick, if you open up like ThunderHub, so let me log into ThunderHub real quick. You should see your node alias as well as the color right underneath of it. So hopefully you see that in ThunderHub. That's another way to know you did things correctly. 1ML and Amboss might take a little bit longer to update. So if you come here and you try and look up like toad, and it doesn't show up, like it doesn't show up here, it takes up to 48 hours for it to show up on 1ML and Amboss. Amboss.space as well. It takes a little bit of time. So if you don't see it here, that's okay. If you see it in ThunderHub, you should be good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about finding a node to emulate. So there's several different ways you could go ahead and find a node to emulate. Like maybe you already know who you want to emulate, and that's good. But additionally, there's like a list of nodes here. And so we have top performing nodes right here. Now, a lot of these nodes right here are companies, okay? Async, Wallet of Satoshi, Lightning to LN to me. These are companies, and I probably wouldn't try and model my node after a company. I'll try and find an individual that has a node, because you're probably an individual that has a node, right? So like see Otto here, he's an individual. I don't know all these nodes, obviously. There's a ton of them out here. But you want to make sure basically that you find one that is a normal person. All right, so here's a list right here. And we'll talk about how to figure out if they're a normal person or not in just a second. But there's a list right here. Additionally, a good place to go is Lightning Network Plus, which, again, this is where we're using the Watchtower. We're borrowing their Watchtower, so maybe we'll borrow them for some more information. But we can come on down here, and this is a bunch of people doing circular rebalances with each other. Like, don't worry about that right here. I have a link in the description down below on how to use Lightning Network Plus, so if you're interested, check that video out. But what we're looking for is, we'll go with select status, we'll do completed, and capacity. We'll probably look for large search. All right, so here's some swaps that have completed. So we can open up one of these swaps, and we can look for nodes, because people that are participating on Lightning Network Plus are individuals, right? So we don't have to worry about a company coming in here and trying to create channels with each other or anything like that. So these are all people out there trying to create channels with each other, and you can find a node that you might want to emulate. So you can see how much Bitcoin they have, like 2.546 Bitcoin. So, that's a reasonable node, 1.23, 1.6. So you can see this type of information on Lightning Network.plus, and then we can grab it here. Let's do it. Exile Bob. We can come over here to Amboss Space, throw in Exile Bob, and we can go ahead and search and find that node. Exile Bob right here. And we can take a look at their node and what channels they have and stuff like that. So one thing we can notice right away is their oldest channel is only 11 days ago. So this is a newer node, so they're just getting set up and everything. Or maybe it's an experienced user and they're setting up a new node. We don't really know, I guess, but it's a newer node, so maybe they do or don't know what they're doing. They don't have, a lot of time, really. But we want to come down here to fee report, and we want to look at these fees. And I have a node over here. So when we're going to check against Amboss Spaces, which we're doing now. So we're going to look for decent fees. So when emulating, we want to see high outgoing and low incoming. So if we come over here, high outgoing and low incoming. So the average outgoing is 160, the average incoming is 223. So this is probably not a good node to emulate because they're probably not making money. At least they're not doing rebalancing. If they're rebalancing, they're definitely losing money. But if they're doing they're adjusting their fees up and down, they could be making some money. But just from the surface level, we're going to be looking for high outgoing and low incoming. Basically a ratio, better than 1 is ideal. So we might go through here, and let me come back over to this one. So XL Bob might not be the best. Let's check out J24. So come back over here, and we're going to go ahead and search for J24. And we can see their oldest channel is 164 days old, so they've been around a while. We can see their channels are growing, their capacity is growing. Also, I want to point out that some of these people that are verified, they have their Twitter up. So you can go ahead and look and see if they're active on Twitter. Maybe they're talking about their node and all that type of stuff. And you'd be like, okay, this guy seems like he knows what he's doing, all that type of stuff. So that you can tell that it's an individual, and they're working on growing their node. Here we can see the ratio is 1.43. So they have lower incoming than outgoing, so they can do some rebalancing and do it profitably, probably, and so on. And the reason we're also looking here is it shows us what nodes they're connected to. So we get a snapshot of all the nodes they have channels with, and basically we can copy them and do what they're doing. Okay, so that's kind of what we're getting to here. So this could be a decent node to go ahead and emulate, but we'll go ahead and look at one more just for practice, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and find one off screen so you don't have to watch me go through all of them. But I think it's a good practice to see what to look for. All right, so we'll do this list now. So I know async is a business, while Satoshi, Bcast is trash. These are pretty established. Let's come on down here. Here's AZ Hodl. We can go ahead and then search up AZ Hodl over here. AZ Hodl. Pretty sure this is an individual. Search for here we go. They do have the website. They have Telegram. So we can check out their Twitter over here. And here we go. So it is a guy, father and husband, running this node over here. Oldest channel, 275 days, so they've been around a little while. They kind of know what they're doing. They have 12 Bitcoin locked up in their Lightning node, so that's a pretty good chunk. Channels have been decreasing. Capacity has been decreasing as well. Not sure what's going on there, but looking at the ratio, we got a 1.34, so they're making some money probably and can do profitable rebalances. We can see their list of nodes down here and so on. So that's kind of the gist of it. I'm going to go ahead and find a node that I want to go ahead and emulate, and then we'll go ahead and open some channels and kind of do what they're doing. Now, I also want to point out here that none of this is set in stone, okay? What we're looking for is just an example, something to get us started, okay? As we open some channels and stuff like that, we might realize some channels are profitable for us, some aren't profitable, or some aren't doing any transactions or routing or anything like that. They're basically dead channels, even though our fees are 0. We're charging no satoshis in order to route payments, but still nothing's coming to us. So you'll find that, and you might have to close a channel, open a new channel, and so on. So we're just kind of looking at what other people have, and we can kind of emulate them to get us started, but then we're going to ultimately wind up going our own way. Okay, that's kind of the idea here. So let me go find a node that I want to emulate, and then I will be back. Alrighty, so I found a node that I want to go ahead and emulate, Master Yoda here, and it was on this list over here, Master Yoda. So I found this individual, and I like what they're doing here. They've been around a little while. 281 days is their oldest channel. Coming on down here, I can see that they've kind of maintained their channels. They've opened and closed channels to kind of keep them steady, but they've been steady increasing their capacity. Okay, so that's something kind of good to see. And as I get down to the fees here, I see the ratio seems really good right here, 2.15 outgoing to incoming. So that means that I could profitably rebalance my node if I need to. So I like that. And we come on down here, and we can see the nodes that they are connected to over here. And basically, I'm just going to start at the top here and kind of copy their sizes as well, relative to how much Bitcoin I have available and so on. And that's pretty much it to get this whole Lightning node show on the road. Is just kind of copying what they're doing. And then, of course, we'll adjust later on, like I said previously. So Loop, that's pretty much a one-way channel. They're going to take your local liquidity and they're going to suck it up. Okay, so this is going to be like a profit-generating channel, which is why you can see that they have almost 2,400 ppm, their rate. So this is how much they're charging on their channel. And typically how you run a channel with Loop is you open it up, they suck all that local liquidity out of it, and then you close that channel and you open another channel for Loop, and you just kind of keep going that way because you're not going to get any more, you're not going to get inbound liquidity from Loop basically. So this is a profit one. I'm not going to worry about Loop right now until my node is up and running and I have transactions going back and forth. Then I might consider opening Loop. But this is kind of like a profitable channel. But LN NiceHash, I'm going to go ahead and open a channel with. So also I could go ahead, and tap into theirs or click into their node and learn some more about it if I want to, so I can see like what they're about and all that type of stuff. I'm familiar with NiceHash and I've had good success with them previously, so I'm going to go ahead and definitely connect to them. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this address right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and head over to my node, wherever it is. And actually I'm going to go to ThunderHub. So open up ThunderHub, and I want to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and refresh it real quick just to make sure that things are fresh. And I'm going to be on the home screen here, and I'm going to go ahead and open. So I'm going to go ahead and open a channel, and I want to go ahead and open a manual channel here. And is Noop here? Yes, they are. I'm going to paste in what I just copied off of amboss.space. So this address right here is what I just copied. So paste it in there. Channel size. So I want to do the maximum channel size I possibly can do, which I think is 16. They had it up here. Let me drag this over here. So 16,777,215. 16,777,215. Alrighty, so I wanted to take a second to address channel sizes real quick. So should you have big channels or little channels, or what should you do? So right now at this point in time on March 23rd, 2022, the best idea is to have a few large channels. So for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, it's easier to manage, a few channels compared to 100 or hundreds of channels, especially if you're doing it manually. And if you're watching this video, it's because you're just getting started, and you'll likely be doing stuff manually before you start figuring out systems and things like that. So the larger you can open the channels, the better. As you'll see in this video, I only opened, I think, 9 channels, and they're pretty large channels. So, it's easier to manage that than it is hundreds of smaller channels. And second, you can only send so many satoshis through a channel as the channel size. So if you open a 100,000 sat channel, well, that's the largest amount of satoshis that could be sent through that channel, which isn't that much at the time of this recording. It's about $42, so that's not too much. So it'd be better to have a 5 million sat channel or a 10 million sat channel, so you can send a lot more through that channel before you have to worry about rebalancing or adjusting fees or anything like that. So I just wanted to address that real quick. And there are proposals in the future that would kind of make large channels unnecessary, where it might be a better strategy to have hundreds of small channels. So my recommendation would be to just follow smart people on Twitter and find out, when the strategy on channel sizes changes. But right now, a few large ones is probably the best way to go. Fee, I'll tap auto real quick. All right, so it's saying the fastest is 7. Let me do mempool.space and see what the mempool is pretty full right now. So picked a bad time to do this, but it is about to be the weekend, so I could probably do lower fees. I'm going to go ahead and manually set it. So I'm going to do fee 1 sat per vbyte. Over the weekend, it should clear out, and I should be able to do that, I hope. I'm going to go ahead then and I'll open advanced real quick just to explain this. So we have private channels, which can't be seen. So how I'm going through here and I'm seeing all these channels right here. If it's private, I wouldn't be able to see it. You might open a private channel with somebody you're doing business with regularly, and you don't need people to see it because you're just sending Bitcoin back and forth between that channel. But if you're trying to route payments, then you need to have a public channel. So we're going to keep it public. So that way we can route payments, and then I don't want to push any tokens to the partner. Like if I wanted to pay NiceHash, I could go ahead and send them, some Bitcoin as I open the channel with them, but I don't want to pay them anything because I don't need to. So anyway, you have those options when you open the channel. I'm just gonna go ahead and open the channel. Alrighty, so for some reason, NiceHash is not working right now, or ThunderHub's not working right now, but for some reason I cannot add NiceHash. Maybe it's down or something, I don't know. So I'm gonna try Ride the Lightning. We're gonna try this tool instead, and I'm gonna try a different node to connect to. I'll try NiceHash later on. So I'm just gonna move to the next one. We got Throbbing Sausage down here. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up real quick. And of course I could go ahead and check it out, see if what type of node it is and all that type of stuff, or I can just connect and see what happens, and I can always close the channel if it doesn't work out well. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the Tor address, copy, come back to Ride the Lightning. And Ride the Lightning, I'm under Lightning and Peers and Channels, and I have to go to Peers first. I can't just open a channel, I have to do a peer first. So we do Peers, Add Peer, you paste in that Tor address, and you click Add Peer. And so the peer's been added, and now I can go ahead and open a channel, which is optional, but I do want to do that. And we got Yoda here. What's his name? Yoda something. Master Yoda has a pretty big channel with Throbbing Sausage, the biggest channel you can basically have. I'm not going to open that large of a channel right now. I'm just going to do 10,000 or 10 million sats. So let's come back over to Ride the Lightning. So we got 10, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's good. This will be a public channel, so I'm not going to select that option. Transaction type, I'm going to go with a fee. I'm going to do 1 sat per vbyte, and then I'm going to go ahead and open the channel. And I see channel added successfully. So if I come back over here to channels, and I go to pending, and I see pending open, there's Throbbing Sausage right there. Now I just have to wait for 3 confirmations on the blockchain, and then I'll have that channel open with Throbbing Sausage. And basically that's what I'm going to go ahead and do, is I'm going to go through this list here. Cold Sats is next. I'll probably open another 10 million sat channel with Cold Sats, and I'll just go down this list opening channels. I like ThunderHub a little more. However, it's causing me some issues, so Ride the Lightning is, it worked that time. So I do have a channel pending now. And yeah. I'm going to go ahead and open several channels, and then we'll come back to the video after these channels are open, because it's going to take some time to do all this stuff, and you see how to open a channel. So you just go down the list, opening channels, and then when we do that, we got to come back in here and get some inbound liquidity and all that type of stuff. So I'll be back after I open all these channels up. Alrighty, so it's been a day and we are back. As you can see, I now have 7 channels open, and I'm in ThunderHub again. I actually had to uninstall ThunderHub and reinstall it, and now it's working again. So if you have issues with an app, my recommendation, I guess, is to uninstall it and reinstall it, and hopefully it'll start working. So that's what worked with ThunderHub here. So now I can see the channels that I have, and I want to take a minute here to talk about the fees. So as you remember, we set up the default fees in the lnd.conf configuration file. We did 0 base fee, and then we did a fee rate of 100. So that's what all my channels currently are, is 100 and rate, and then 0 base fee. And real quick before we do that, you click on this little gear icon here, and if you want to change like what you see, like if you're not seeing the fee rates or something like that, like you might have that default, you can go ahead and change this around. So that's something handy. I just want to point that out real quick. Sorry, I just thought of it. But anyway, and click the gear to close it back up. So yeah, so you can see my fees, and if I want to go ahead and adjust them, I can just click into here, come on down here to update details, and I can change my base fee and my fee rate. So base fee, real quick, is the fee that's charged automatically on anytime you forward a payment or you route a payment. So some node sends a transaction through your node, and you earn a fee. If you have a base fee, you'll automatically get that no matter how much money they're sending or how many satoshis they're sending. So if they send 10,000 sats, you'll get this base fee, or if they send 10 million sats, you'll get that same base fee. Okay, so a good practice really is to have a 0 base fee, and then increase your fee rate where it's a percentage of how much sats you're forwarding or routing. Okay, and as you can see right here, 100 fee rate is 0.01%. So it's pretty small, but of course people are sending, you know, millions of sats at a time, so it kind of adds up. And over time you'll wind up playing with the fee rates, and you can play with the base fee, and you can manipulate it as much as you want. But for our time right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, you know, look at my model that I'm following, Master Yoda here, and kind of see what fees they're charging. Now, fees can be dynamic, like they could be increasing and decreasing their fees depending on how much liquidity is on their side or how much liquidity they have remote. So there's different reasons why fees might change. So this type of stuff, you know, isn't locked in stone, but it gives us a starting point basically. And what I'm going to do is kind of copy what they have set up, but I'm going to charge a little bit less, so that way hopefully I can capture some of that traffic coming in here. So we got 999 for nice hash, so I can come over here and find nice hash right here. He's got 999. Update details. I'll just do 800, so pretty good discount compared to what they're offering over there. And then I just kind of go down the list. So we got Throbbing Sausage, 525. So come over here, Throbbing Sausage. Update details. I'll just go with 400 for right now. Update details. And you can change these rates, so nothing's locked in stone. Okay, so Cold Sats, 200. So that's pretty low, but maybe that's where I can pull liquidity from. So we'll go ahead and update details. We'll just do 200. What did he have? I forget because I'm talking, blabbing around. Cold Sats, 190 is what he has. No, 205. Sorry, 205. I'll do 175. And so on. So we just go down the list and change them all up real quick. So I'm going to do that. And so I've gone through and updated all my fees now. Now on to the next part. And we have kind of a problem here. So as we can tell, all the liquidity, the balance is on my side. It's the local balance. You see local balance right there. So it's all on my side, which means that no one can send transactions through me. They can't send it to me, and I can't send it out somewhere else. All I can do right now is I can send transactions, so I can pay for stuff if I want to. However, no, I'm not going to be able to like route payments because I can't get anything in to forward. So I need some remote liquidity. So we see, or remote balance. So I need to have some balance on this side so that way transactions can flow back and forth between the channels, right? So that's kind of how that works. And if you don't quite understand the concept just yet, that's okay. Like, just do it, okay? And then you'll see it working in action and you'll start to understand it, okay? That's like the best thing I can tell you is to just do it and then you'll see what happens. I don't think there's that much stuff you could really mess up when you're doing this Lightning Network stuff. So just do it and see what happens. So let's go ahead and move on to the next section of our video. And so we're going to talk about getting some inbound liquidity. So I'm going to show you 3 different ways in this video, or a link in the description down below. I might have a couple other ways that you could get that inbound liquidity. The first way is called a loop out, which is a service that basically will open, or will do a transaction with this service. We'll send them sats through the Lightning Network, so we'll send a payment out of our channel. And so when it goes out, that'll create that inbound liquidity. And then they'll give us our crypto, our Bitcoin back on the main chain. So we'll do it and you'll see exactly how that works out. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use Ride the Lightning. I have better luck with Ride the Lightning on these loop out transactions. So I recommend using Ride the Lightning. You can also use Lightning Terminal, but it seems to have errors for me or messes up for me. But anyway, so I'm going to come over here to Lightning and I'm going to go to channels, peers and channels. And I need to figure out which channel I want to go ahead and get some liquidity in. And I'm going to go with the one that I'm charging the least amount of fees. So I have legalized math right here. So I'm going to try and get some inbound liquidity on legalized math. And so I'll come back over to Ride the Lightning. And I have legalized math right down here. And I'll click on actions and we have loop out. And my channel with legalized math is 6 million sats, right? 6 million. And I want to try and get a balanced channel. So that'd be 3 million sats on my side and then 3 million sats on their side, or remote balance. Now 3 million on a loop out is kind of high, so it might not work, but we're going to give it a shot. I think it's better to try it, and if it fails, well then you can reduce it versus just going with the small amount because you're going to pay fees every time you do it. So you want to do as much as possible is good practice. So I'm going to try and do the full amount that I want, 3 million. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and estimate quote real quick. So the swap fee, I can see the fees here that I'm potentially going to be charged. Okay, sounds good. We'll do next. Withdrawal address, so you can go ahead and just, send it back to your node, or you can do an external address. And again, this is going to be main chain Bitcoin, so you want a main chain Bitcoin address in here. I'm just going to send it back to my node. So I'll go ahead and do initiate loop out, and it says okay, and I could go ahead and check the status if I want to. And I can see right here that it has initiated, and it is going to take a little bit of time, but we'll come back and check on it throughout this video. So we'll see if it worked or not. We're going to move on to the next step now, or the next option for generating inbound liquidity, and that is to pay yourself. So this is kind of like a manual loop out. We're going to be doing the same type of concept. We're going to be sending a Lightning transaction to ourselves this time instead of loop the company. We're going to send the Bitcoin, the Lightning Bitcoin to ourselves, and then we're going to send it back to ourselves on the main Bitcoin blockchain. And we're going to be using Moon Wallet in order to do that. Moon Wallet does submarine swaps. I believe that's what it's called. Don't quote me on it, but I believe it's a submarine swap when you take Lightning Bitcoin and you convert it to main chain Bitcoin, like all in one action. I think that's a submarine swap. Again, I could be wrong, but I think that's what it's called. I do have a video on Moon Wallet, so if you're unfamiliar with it, I recommend checking it out, but we're going to be using it right now. So what we need to go ahead and do is load up Moon Wallet. We'll go into Moon Wallet, and I want to go ahead and receive. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on receive, and I'm going to tap on Lightning here. So Lightning, and I'm going to go ahead down here to invoice settings, and I want to go ahead and add an amount. Now, I have not had good luck on doing large amounts. Like, I think you can loop out more amounts, like 3 million or more on a loop out. However, with paying your own invoice, I usually have better luck with like 1 million. I have had 2.5 million before, but I'm just going to go with, we'll go with 2 million. We'll try it out. 2 million. So there we go, $840 right there. And I'm just going to go ahead and confirm that amount. Confirm. And it's generate that invoice. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that invoice. And then I'm going to go ahead and send it to myself via email and get it on my computer. And this is kind of a good example because we're going to talk about sending payments right now as well. So if you understand, this is how you send a Lightning payment. You get an invoice and then you go ahead and you pay it. So we're going to come back to Ride the Lightning here, and I'll show you how to do it in ThunderHub as well. But we'll go to Ride the Lightning. I'm going to go to Dashboard, and we see the option for Pay right here. And then it says Payment Request, so this is where you'll go ahead and paste in that Lightning invoice that we just sent ourselves from Moon Wallet. So let me paste that in there real quick. You can see the 2 million sats down there. And then I'll go ahead and do Send Payment. And we get some information over here. I'm going to go ahead and do Send Payment. And then I'm going to load back up Moon Wallet, and we'll see if we receive it. Oh, we did. So 2 million did come through. So that is awesome. Now, what channel did it come through? That's kind of the mystery of doing it this way. But the point is now we have some inbound liquidity. And so that inbound liquidity, whether it's on NiceHash, or we could go ahead and rebalance and move it over to cold sats or something like that. So the point is, now we have some inbound liquidity and people can send transactions through us. I mean, we only have 2 million sats, so it's not that much, so we're not balanced by any stretch of the imagination, but we do have the opportunity to get some transactions coming through here. All right, so let's go ahead and finish this exercise up. So now I have the 2 million sats in my Moon Wallet, so 2 million sats right there. And I need to go ahead and send it back to myself so that way, I can do other stuff with it. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on send, and I need to go ahead and scan a Bitcoin or Lightning QR code. So I'm doing a Bitcoin main chain, so I need to go ahead and grab my Bitcoin wallet QR code that's on my node, or you can send it wherever you want really, but I'm sending it back to my node. So here I am on my Bitcoin node, and I'm going to go ahead and deposit, and there's my QR code, and I scanned it right there. So I can go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and tap on use all funds because I'm just going to send it all back to myself. And I'm just going to do return, confirm note, and network fees only 22 cents right now. Let's see, tap on the little pen thing. Yeah, that's fine. I'll get the, let's go, we'll go 1.21. Okay, sounds good. And I'll go ahead and confirm fee down here. And then I'm going to go ahead and send it. And poof, the 2 million sats have left Moon Wallet, and they should be back headed towards my node here. And hopefully I see it in just a minute here pop in. Let's come back out here and back in. And there it is. It just showed up right there. So I got almost 2 million sats coming back minus the fee to do this transaction. And so basically I just did a manual or a self loop out where I sent my own Lightning transaction and then I sent the Bitcoin back to myself, whereas Loop uses a company that does the same thing we just did. And once Loop is done, I'll go ahead and compare the fees between me doing it myself versus using Loop the company. And we'll see what's cheaper basically. So that'll be interesting to see. But as you can see, that is one way to get that inbound liquidity, is to just send it to yourself. And of course I could do another 2 million, another 2 million, another 2 million, and basically balance these channels where I have the same amount of local balance as I do remote balance across all my channels. So you want, as a whole, you want all your channels to be balanced as a whole. So the same amount of local balance, you want the same amount of remote balance across all your channels. So some channels might be out of balance a little bit, but if all your channels are in balance, that's the main goal. And we'll talk more about that as we get into managing our node and rebalancing and stuff like that. So if you don't quite understand the concept, we will come back to it again and again and again. All right, so we have loop out going on, coming down here on legalized mass. So hopefully we wind up with 3 million of remote bounce on legalized math here shortly, but we will see. And we have nice hash with 2 million of remote bounce. So awesome. The third way you can go ahead and get some inbound liquidity is to actually just go ahead and buy it. So what we're going to go ahead and do is use a service called lnbig. And you might actually notice that looking at these nodes, a lot of them have channels with lnbig. So we see right here, channel number 9, they have with lnbig right here. So we're going to open a channel with them, or actually they're going to open a channel with us with all their liquidity on their end. So it'll look like remote liquidity on our end. So you'll see what that means as we do it. So let's come back over here. So what we want to do is scroll on down here to purchase an inbound channel from lnbig. So I'm going to slide this slider here, and you can slide all the way to 1 Bitcoin if you want to for $88.70. Or I'm going to do 16,183. That sounds good. Now you might have noticed when I was opening the channels, the largest I would go was 16,777,215, and that's like the limit for your channels unless you enable Wumbo. So you can enable Wumbo right here in order to increase or get larger channels. So if you want larger channels, you can enable Wumbo, and you do that inside of the lnd.configuration file. You just set this to true under the application options setting of that file. So if you don't have Wumbo enabled, the 16.777215 is the largest you can go. So when you're on lnbig here, make sure that you're not going to 20 if you don't have Wumbo enabled. Otherwise, you're going to run into some issues, I believe. I don't think they'll open like 2 channels or something like that. So I've never tried to open anything larger than 16 million or 16.1 million. But so it's 1550. Come on down here, and you got to go kind of fast. So you want to make sure that you have Ride the Lightning open in order to go through this process. You don't want to be looking around, loading things up while you go through this process, or you might run out of time and you might lose your 1550 if you don't move fast enough. So I'm going to go ahead and I agree, and then I got to go ahead and pay this invoice. So you'll see how to pay a Lightning invoice again. So we paid the one on Moon Wallet, and now we're going to pay the one for lnbig. And so I'm on Ride Lightning dashboard, pay, paste that request in there. You should see the 37,000 sats, $15.63. Send payment, come back over to lnbig. It should see that transaction, and then I need to go ahead and throw in my node information. So back over to Ride the Lightning, and it sometimes gets stuck, so you can just refresh it right here. And you want to go to public key here and click node URI, and then go ahead and grab it. So copy that, come back over to lnbig, paste it in there, check it. Make sure you see like your node, toad node, like I see, type of channel public, yep. All looks good to me, all right. All right, now I need to go ahead and open up a peer, add them as a peer. See, it says it right there, so LND28big. So actually, I need to go to 1ml.com real quick, 1ml.com, and I'm gonna go ahead and look up the LND28 one. So look for LND28, here it is on lnbig 28, and I want to go ahead and copy this address right here. Come over to Ride the Lightning, and then lightning, peers and channels, and peers, add peer, add them as a peer, add, connecting to peer. I'm not going to open a channel with them, so I'll go ahead and do it later. Come back to lnbig. Okay, so the channel was open, channel point, and okay, so that was it. I'm gonna go ahead and hit OK right here. And if I come over to ThunderHub and I come to pending, I should see that, yeah, there you go. My lnbig channel is currently pending, opening 16,181,903 sats, opening up. So as soon as that opens, I'll have 16 million sats of inbound liquidity, and then I could go ahead and rebalance it to disperse it across my various channels if I want to, and we'll talk about that type of stuff later on. But for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and let this confirm, and I'll be back once everything's all confirmed. Alrighty, so it's been some time, and we can see that my loop out has gone through. So I have 3 million local balance and 3 million remote balance, so that's awesome. Now I can send transactions both ways through legalized math. And also my lnbig channel is open here, and we can see I have 16.2 million sats inbound. So that means that lnbig can send sats through me, and then it'll come through me, and it'll wind up being on the local bounce side, and then it'll go out another channel. So for example, if 1 million sats came in lnbig, I'd have 1 million local bounce now over here on lnbig, and 15.2 remote bounce. And then let's say it went out cold sats, so cold sats local would drop down to 9, and remote would go up by 1 million, right? So it went in and then back out over here. So that's kind of the way things would flow through my node. And as time passes, you'll see some examples and all that type of stuff. But I just wanted to point that out real quick. Now, I also said that I'd show you, prices. I thought this would be an interesting case study. Alrighty, so I updated the study to provide a little bit more data. But anyway, we'll get into it. So we're comparing the 3 options for getting that inbound liquidity: lnbig, self-loop using Moon Wallet, and then using loop, like the loop out, using that company. Okay, so these are the fees I paid for the 3 services right here. And then the inbound sat, so this is the amount of inbound liquidity I received for the fee that I paid. And then basically, so 1 sat in fees equals this many inbound sats. So that was the formula I used. If you want to use a different formula, you got my numbers here, and you can do whatever formulas you want to go ahead and do. So looking at it from this first test that I did, the self-loop using Moon Wallet provided the most amount of liquidity for the least amount of fees. So 553 sats of inbound liquidity per each 1 sat of fee. So that was the winner there. lnbig was, second place, not far behind, and loop was the most expensive. So anyway, I was going through my channels and getting that inbound liquidity using the self-loop method. And so I have a few more data points now. So I did it again, 3 million sats this time, a good fee there, pretty good rates right here as well. But then it started to get more and more expensive, and it came down to what channels that I was doing this for. So where I was trying to get the liquidity, like it depended on what channel. So different channels, it costs more to do it. And of course that makes sense, right? Different channels have different rates, and depending on how it gets routed over to my Moon Wallet, I might pay more or less depending on how many connections and channels and fees that it has to go through, right? So Moon Wallet, the self-loop method, can provide the best rates, so that's something to note, but it also seems to be able to provide the worst rates. Now loop, I imagine if I use loop, and different channels would have different rates as well. So maybe this first instance of using loop, I had an expensive channel for looping, whereas maybe if I tried another channel, I would have better rates and it would cost less to get that inbound liquidity. So I imagine self-loop and loop are kind of similar. You're probably going to pay more for using loop because they're going to charge you a fee on top of it. So self-loop probably beats loop. And then lnbig, it's going to be consistent, okay? So that's a good part about lnbig. It's going to cost whatever it is in order to open up that channel to you to get that inbound liquidity. Now here's kind of the downside of lnbig is all the liquidity is sitting on that channel. So you're going to have to rebalance, and we're going to talk about rebalance later, but you're going to have to rebalance that liquidity elsewhere, and that's going to cost you. So you're going to want to take those rebalancing costs into account as well when you're using lnbig. So basically at the end of the day, I think self loop is probably the best because you can pick where you want that inbound liquidity to go. Now you might pay an arm and a leg on some of the different channels you have, but really probably if you were going to rebalance from LnBig, you probably pay an arm and a leg there too. And I do think that using Loop as a service is probably the most expensive option, so I'm going to avoid that. But going forward, I'll be using some self loop and possibly some LnBig, and that's the consensus that I've come to. Alrighty, so I want to say one last thing about this segment here. Obviously, buying this inbound liquidity can get pretty expensive depending how much inbound liquidity you need. You saw I spent like $15 on LnBig to get this liquidity. Self-looping would probably be about $12 to get 16 million inbound, and then using Loop would probably be about $30 to get 16 million inbound satoshis. And obviously, if you need more than 60 million, it'll start adding up is the point. And you might not want to have that type of expense, running a Lightning node, because running a Lightning node is probably not going to be a profitable business adventure for you, at least not at this point in time. So putting money into it, unless you're passionate about it, may or may not be what you want to do. So one other tool I recommend using or checking out is Lightning Network, and we already are using their Watchtower service, right? So you can come here and participate in swaps, and I'm not going to go into it right here, but basically you join a team or a group of other individuals, and you set up channels together, and then you basically do a circular rebalance between all those channels, and you get inbound and outbound liquidity. And so it's a really cool service. I do have a video on how to use it as well, because it could be a little overwhelming when you first step into it. So I'll link to both the service as well as my video below if you want to learn more. So if you don't want to pay money to get that inbound liquidity, check out doing some swaps. Now I'm going to go look at LnBig right here. I have my default fee right here of 100 ppm. LnBig, lnd.28. So I'm going to come over here to amboss.space, lnd.28, and I'm going to scroll on down here a little bit, and I'm going to look at the incoming fees. So these are the fees that people are charging to route through this LnBig node. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to increase that fee to about 400, just so that way I'm competitive with everyone else and not losing out on anything. So that way, if some transactions do come through and I do get that local bounce, I don't want them to come back through here and go out without charging enough fees. Like I'm trying to make a profitable node is my point. Alrighty, so now I'm going to go ahead and check how balanced my node is as a whole. So for that, I'm going to come to Ride the Lightning, and I can come up here to Peers and Channels, and I can go ahead and do actions and download CSV, and I'll go ahead and save it and open it real quick. So this is just something I check on every so often to see how balanced my entire node is. So here's my channel. So what I'm going to be looking at is the local bounce and the remote bounce, and I'm just going to add those two up and compare them to see how much I need to go ahead and move from one side to the other in order to have like a balanced node. So I have 66 million, I think, on this side. There, we can just go ahead and do this. 66 million local bounce and 21 million remote bounce. So if we find the difference, so 66 million minus 21 million equals that. And then we'll divide it by 2 because I only need to move half of that. So I need another 22 million moved over to remote bounce. So that's kind of what I'm going to be working on off screen here. So based on my little study right here, Moon Wallet was the most affordable option. So I'm going to go ahead and do some more self loop outs. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And I had mentioned that I'll do a payment using ThunderHub. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick so you can see that. Let's go ahead and come to ThunderHub, and I need to open up Moon Wallet. And again, I'm going to go back to receive and go to Lightning. And then I'm going to go to invoice settings down here. And for amount, I'm going to add an amount. I'm going to go for 3 million. I don't think it's going to work, but heck, we're going to give it a shot. So confirm amount, generate the invoice. I got to go ahead and copy it and get it on my computer. And to pay with ThunderHub, I'm going to go to home. And then we see send with the little lightning bolt. So I'll do send. And then you can do main chain. And this is not a key send. And then invoice. So I'll go ahead and paste the invoice in here. And then max fee, I'm going to go ahead and bump it up a little bit. And max PAS, I'm also going to bump up. We'll do 5. Out channel. So I can select what channel I ideally want it to go out. I'm going to select Bcash is trash right here. It doesn't always work. It'll usually go for the cheapest channel. But you can try it. So we're going to try it. I'm going to do pay. and we're going to see if it works. And we can load up Moon Wallet too. So we got both things going on. Alrighty, so that transaction seems to have broken my ThunderHub. It's not loading or anything like that right now, so I'm going to have to give it a few minutes, but essentially that is how you would pay an invoice using ThunderHub. Apparently I'm trying to pay too large of an invoice, so once it loads again, I'll do smaller invoices, and basically what I'm going to try and do is get my entire node balanced at this point in time. So that means I'll have roughly 45 million sats on the local balance and 45 million sats on the remote balance. So that's what I'm going to be doing off screen. Again, I have like the 3 methods to do it. I have ln_big, I have loop out, and then I have the manual loop out using Moon Wallet. So that's what I'm going to be doing to get my entire node balanced. And then once I have liquidity on both the local side and the remote side, then I can do things like rebalance in order to move that liquidity easily between my different channels. And of course, we're going to cover that in just a second. Alrighty, so it's kind of early and the family's still sleeping, and I'm going to kind of keep it low-keyed and stay off video for right now, so sorry about that, but we'll drive on. So as you can see, I now have some inbound liquidity on quite a few channels, and I think it's about time that we get into doing some rebalancing, so that's what we're going to be doing right now. But real quick, before I do that, I recommend checking out Zero Fee Routing. They charge 0 fees to you, so this could be a good source for rebalancing. Additionally, they might send transactions through you, so it can be a good source of transactions. So it's a good source for rebalancing and transactions, so I recommend checking them out. You know, you can go to amboss.space. They have 2 nodes, Zero Fee Routing, Sea Lightning, and Zero Fee Routing. I think he's moving to just the Sea Lightning one. So, and actually it says it right here, so you could read that, or just follow him on Twitter and you can see like what node is live. So if you're watching my video, you know, in a year from now, he might have another node or something like that. So anyway, at this point in time, March 20th, 2022, it's a good one to be connected to, the Sea Lightning version. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about rebalancing. So basically, what rebalancing does is it takes some of your local balance and switches it with your remote balance. So you can, you know, rebalance between any channels that you want to, as long as the amount of local balance matches the amount of remote balance that you want to go ahead and rebalance. So if that doesn't make sense, we're about to do it and you'll see exactly what I mean. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do it. We'll do it in ThunderHub, we'll do it in Ride the Lightning, and then I'm going to show you how you can do it using rebalance-lnd, using the Lightning Shell app, and I'm just going to do the very basics of rebalance-lnd. There can be a lot to it. I'll have another video on more functions and features, but we'll just, you know, touch the surface here. But let's go ahead and get into it here. So ThunderHub, and I'm going to push from Zero Fee Routing down to ln_big. So that's kind of my goal here. So I'm going to come to rebalance here, and then outgoing. So I want it to come out of Zero Fee Routing, and then I wanted to go to ln_big. And then I can go ahead and set my fees and all that type of stuff. So we'll throw in a fair amount of fees just in case it's expensive. Max fee rate, we'll go with 250. I'm basically just trying to get it to go through. And using rebalance-lnd is probably the best way to do it. So I recommend learning that tool, as you can go ahead and automate the rebalancing process as well. This using ThunderHub or Ride the Lightning is very manual and labor intensive and kind of a lot of guesswork actually. So I don't really recommend ThunderHub or Ride the Lightning unless you're just trying to learn it. I do recommend learning how to use rebalance-lnd so that way you're doing your rebalancing profitably. But anyway, I have some fees set up here. I want to go ahead and select the amount I want to rebalance. I'm going to try and do 1 million. Now it might be too much and we might have to lower it down, but we'll go ahead and give it a shot. We could go ahead and try and avoid nodes, like if we know different nodes are very expensive or something like that. And then we also have an optional timeout time. I'm just going to go ahead and do rebalance and we'll see what happens. Alrighty, so ThunderHub froze up on me and I wound up having to reboot LnD. I keep having issues with ThunderHub. I don't know what's going on, but maybe you have better luck. But that's how you do a rebalance in ThunderHub. Let's go over to Ride the Lightning and we'll try it in here. And hopefully Ride the Lightning lets us do it. So here we are. We'll go to Lightning and we'll go to Peers and Channels. And what I want to go ahead and do is send out a Zero Fee Routing. So I find it the one I want to send from, and go over here and do circular rebalance, And the amount I want to send, I'm just going to do 500,000. Maybe million might be too much. Rebalancing, you usually have to use lower amounts in order to get it to work. So I'm going to start with 500,000, and I want to send it to LnBig. It says receive from peer. That's weird wording to me, but if you read up here, it kind of breaks down what you're actually setting up. So receive from peer sounds weird, but this is where you want your local balance to go to. So there we go. We can go ahead and select a fee here, and I'm just going to try and get it to work. So I'm going to do 10,000, which is really high, and it probably would not be worth it, but we'll go ahead and do rebalance. Alrighty, so the payment failed. It timed out. Probably I need to reduce it some. I'm going to try this again. I want you to see, either Ride the Lightning or ThunderHub actually work for rebalancing. So we're just going to do 100,000. And again, we're going to do LnBig. We'll go ahead and select our fee. And I'll do 10,000 again. And then I'm going to go ahead and rebalance. And that failed as well. So I'm going to try an even lower amount. We'll just do 25,000 sats. And receive from select fee 10,000, which is ridiculous, but that's the max fee. And we'll try it again. Oh, there we go. Awesome. It actually went through, and the fee I paid was only 15 sats, so not 10,000. So that's very good. So now if I went over to ThunderHub here, and I'll go ahead and refresh it, you should see some of my liquidity move from zero fee routing. You see that 25K. Now I have 25K inbound liquidity to zero fee, or from zero fee routing, and it moved on down to LnBig. So we see 25K right there. So that's how it works, and obviously it's such a small amount we don't even see the little green bar yet. So as I do more rebalancing, we should start to see a green bar on zero fee routing and a blue bar on LnBig. So we're moving in the right direction. Now the next thing I want to show you is how to use rebalance-lnd, and again, this is just a very, very basic demonstration, and I'm actually going to be using the Lightning Shell app to do it. So if you have an Umbrella node, you should see it in the App Store, Lightning Shell, or I imagine my node also has it in their App Store, or you can install rebalance-lnd on your node and not use Lightning Shell. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. I'm just going the quickest way right now, and I'm going to go ahead and open it up. And the first command I'm going to go ahead and run is rebalance-lnd -c, and this will give me a list of my channels right here. So there's all my channels, and now I need to tell it where I want to do the rebalancing. So again, I'm going to go from zero fee routing down to LnBig. So we'll do rebalance-lnd -f is from, and then we're going to go ahead and copy this and paste it in here, and we're going to send it to LnBig. And then the amount is -a, and we'll just do 25,000 because we saw that worked when I did Ride the Lightning. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. And so that didn't work, so let's go ahead and increase the amount. Maybe that will do the trick. All right, there we go. So now rebalance-lnd is doing its thing, and it's looking for a route to send 10,000 sats from zero fee routing to LnBig, and so you can see it's going through and figuring out if it's an affordable route or not. And hopefully we find an affordable route, and we'll look at the output and see what it all says. So give it a second. Alrighty, so it could not find a suitable route, but you can kind of see what it does here. So it goes and it does, it finds a route, and it looks at all the fees for that route, and it adds them up, and it compares it to how much you would earn if you left it in zero fee routing versus LnBig, and it figures out if you would have made a profit or not, or if it should move the sats or not. So it's trying to help you rebalance profitably. And I imagine this is a bit intense right now, so please don't get overwhelmed. I just want to show you that this tool is out here, and that as you start understanding your node and learning about rebalancing and you want to do a better job with it, check out rebalance-lnd, because it is definitely the best rebalancing tool out there. Alrighty, so that's 3 ways to rebalance, again, using ThunderHub or Ride the Lightning or rebalance-lnd. And what I'm going to be doing now is trying to get my zero fee routing local balance moved down to LnBig, so that way I can start receiving payments from zero fee routing. And I'm going to go ahead and do that off screen because it will take a little while to, figure out what's working and everything. And then basically I'm going to wait a couple days and we're going to see how the node performs. We're going to see, inbound, outbound, all that type of stuff. And then we're going to start making some decisions on like managing our node and maybe finding new nodes to connect with and improve our centrality, and how to maintain inbound and outbound liquidity and adjust fees and all that other type of stuff, or when we might want to close channels. So we still have quite a bit of good stuff coming up. Alrighty, so my channels have been open for a couple days now, and now it's time to look at some of these reports and make some changes possibly to our fees and stuff like that. So we're getting kind of into like this section here where we're maintaining inbound, outbound liquidity and when to raise or lower rates, and looking at reports kind of. So routing and forwarding reports. Now I'm going to be using Ride the Lightning, but ThunderHub also has similar type reports. But for some reason my ThunderHub has broken for some reason. So I don't know. Personally, I use Ride the Lightning because I can download these reports into Excel and then I can do pivot tables and all that type of stuff. So I usually use Ride the Lightning anyway for these reports, but ThunderHub does have them and they are a little prettier in ThunderHub. But again, my ThunderHub's not working, so if it's not working, it's no good to me. So yep, I got my channels here, and one of the most important reports I go to is the routings report. And I can get a list of all the routing my node has done. So this is the inbound channel, obviously, it says inbound channel, and this is the outbound channel, my inbound sats amount, outbound sats amount, and the fee that I earned. Now, note this is an MSATs, which is 1,000 sats, so really I only made 80 sats in fees doing this transaction right here, or routing this transaction right here. So anyway, what I would do is, go through this report. It's pretty self-explanatory, what you're looking at. You can see all your transactions, right? Simple enough. And then, of course, you could go ahead and change your date range as well. And then there's also actions right here for download a CSV. And then you can download a CSV. And if you're familiar with pivot tables or anything like that, it can be very useful in identifying what is or isn't working. Now, I can easily go through here and I can see all of my transactions are inbound, Bcash is trash, and outbound, nice hash. And I actually have one going out a throbbing sausage right here. So most of it's in nice hash. So basically what I would go ahead and do is likely adjust the fees on several of my channels here. So I haven't had anything go out of legalized math. So I might come in here and update my fee policy. And I already have a pretty low fee rate right there, but we'll lower it to 25 and update channel. So legalized math might be a bad one unless I start getting inbound traffic, but I'm not getting anything from legalized math. So we're just keeping an eye on it. Lightning markets or LN markets, I'll update the fee policy and I just, drop it a little bit, like maybe 50 points or so on. Again, you can raise it whenever you want and lower it, whenever you want. One tool that you might want to check out is Charge LnD. I'll have a video on it later on, but it can be used to automatically adjust your fees depending on, if no transactions are happening in a 3-day period, then lower the fees. Or if lots of transactions are happening, then maybe you'll raise the fees up and so on. So there's a lot of flexibility with this, and that can automate the process. So you're not coming in here and pulling down CSV files and doing pivot tables and all that sorts of crazy stuff. You can do it, automatically, basically, based off of whatever parameters you choose. So just wanted to point that out real quick. All right, so nice hash, that's been getting some good activity. So I'm not going to touch the fees. I mean, in theory, I guess I could raise them a little bit to see if I can squeeze a little bit more out of there, but I'll leave it as they are right now. Cold sats, I've had no transactions, so I'm going to go ahead and update the fee policy over here as well. We'll drop to 140. Sounds good. And then we've got throbbing sausage. I did have one transaction, so I'm kind of close on throbbing sausage here. So I might just drop to like 380. So just drop 20, and maybe that'll start getting some activity in it. Bcash is trash. I've had no outbound, so I'm going to go ahead and update the fee policy for it as well. We'll do 350. Give that a shot. Coming on down, LN big. I've had no transactions either, but I don't really have any local liquidity, and I don't really want local liquidity. I don't really want transactions going out of here, so I'm going to leave the fees high for now. If it starts to balance out a little more, then I might lower the fees or play with it, but right now I'm kind of trying to use LN big for that inbound liquidity, right? That was the whole point of buying that channel, was to get that inbound liquidity. So that's where I'm going to leave it for now. Zero fee routing, the fee is basically zero. I think it's 10. So I have it at 10, so I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not trying to make money off zero fee routing. Again, that's just a good channel for basically rebalancing because there's zero fees coming from them. So it saves you at least on, one routing path. So that's a good channel. Bitfinex, I think that's Bitfinex. Let's go ahead and update their fee policy because I haven't had any transactions. So we'll drop them down to 650. So there we go. Pretty simple, self-explanatory. If you're getting activity, you might want to leave your fees or raise the fees. If you're not getting any activity on your channel, then you might want to lower your fees until you start getting that activity. And then, if you lower it to 0 and you're still not getting inbound transactions or outbound transactions, well, that's when you probably want to close the channel. And I'm not sure how many days I'm going to keep recording on this, but that's kind of the path we'll go. So you might see me, lower some fees some more to 0 and then close the channel and so on. But if I don't, I'm just explaining it to you now that, that's the right you go. If you're not making money on it and there's no activity on it, you close it, right? Makes some sense. And so this is, again, the routing report. So routing, well, this appears in channel section, but this is the routing report. And again, download it in CSV format and you can do all sorts of stuff. We can go to reports as well. There's some pretty reports. There's not many filtering options, so I do think it is a little limited. I would like to be able to adjust the date range a little more than I currently can. But it does give you a breakdown of your inbound channel and then your outbound channel and the amounts and the fees and all that type of stuff. So it's just a nice little snapshot if you're interested in that. I don't use it too much. There's backup as well. So while we're here, might as well talk about backing up your channels. Now, my Umbrella will automatically back up my Lightning channels, but you might want to back them up, using Ride the Lightning, or you can also back it up using ThunderHub. So you'll download your channels, and that way, if you have any issues with your node and you need to start from scratch, you can load your channels back in here, and it'll repopulate them. So it's a good idea to back them up every so often. Basically, every time you make some significant changes would probably be a good idea to back them up. Or if your node backs them up automatically, at least you have that automatically backed up. But here's how you can do it manually, or your Umbrella or your node should back them up as well, I would think. So backing up is simple enough. And one other thing we could look at with these reports or these routings, I know a lot of it's going from in Bcash is trash and out nice hash. So another theory or concept I could use is to rebalance. And what I would do is rebalance from Bcash's trash into nice hash. So if I came over here, just for example, so I would come out of Bcash's trash, right? Because I have more and more local liquidity in Bcash's trash, right? Because the transactions are coming in, and when the transactions come into me, then my local balance goes up, right? So I would want to do a circular rebalance out of Bcash's trash and push it into nice hash over here. So I'd go to nice hash over here, and if my fee is low enough, then it would make sense to push those sats back to nice hash, so that way I could keep earning on those transactions that come in from Bcash's trash and out through nice hash. So that could be kind of a good rebalancing strategy, as long as the flow keeps showing like it is right now, where most of them are going from or in Bcash's trash and out nice hash. And as a reminder, I do use rebalance-lnd for all my rebalancing, and I'll have another video on rebalance-lnd at some point in time, so link in the description down below if I've made that video. And I kind of demoed it earlier in this video, so you kind of have an idea of how it works and how it'll look for the cheapest route in order for you to rebalance, so that way you rebalance profitably, right? So there's a couple different strategies when you're looking at those reports, and you can either, raise or lower fees, or you can rebalance your channels based off of how the liquidity is moving around within your node. Alrighty, so it's been a couple days, and I think it's time to check out my routing to see if there's any changes that I need to go ahead and make. So I'm here in Ride the Lightning, and I want to go to under Lightning. I'm going to go to routing here. I'm going to go ahead and change my dates here. I'm going to start analyzing from 19 March through today, 23 March. I'll go ahead and fetch those events, and then I'm going to export it to Excel, or CSV, I guess technically, but I'm going to open it in Excel. And then we can go ahead and do some analysis here in Excel. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is create a simple pivot table just to simplify my research here. And obviously you can get as advanced as you want here. sometimes I'll go ahead and compare different time periods. Like I might compare one 7-day period to another 7-day period, or from one set of changes to another set of changes, and so on. So, I mean, if you like data and trying to analyze it, there's a million different ways you can cut this stuff. I'm just going real simple right here in this video because otherwise we'd be here all day. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do a real simple pivot table, which if you don't know what a pivot table is, hopefully this will show you a way to do it, and then you can build upon it. So insert and pivot table, and it'll select all the data right here. So we'll hit OK. And then just a couple simple fields that I might throw in here is alias in, and I'll drag that down to the rows section. And then I might do amount in MSAT and amount out MSAT. And then I'll go ahead and just select those two. I'll throw a comma in there, get rid of the period so that way I can easily break out the numbers. And so these right here are the channels that I'm getting sats in. So these are inbound channels right here. So that's good info to know. Like, okay, these channels are bringing traffic in, and there's also an option for alias out. So I could go ahead and click on that, and it'll add it to the rows. So we're coming in Bcash is trash, going out nice hash, going out throbbing sausage, coming in cold sats, going out zero fee routing, in LN markets, out throbbing sausage, in zero fee routing, out throbbing sausage. So we can kind of get a breakdown of, you know, where transactions are going, the amounts, and things of that nature. So it gives us a nice snapshot of what is happening. Now for this particular example, I'm more curious as to where stuff is going out, because I want to go ahead and adjust fees like where, you know, on channels that aren't moving. So right now I only have 3 channels that really have produced any income for me, because I only earn on channels that are outbound. I don't earn anything on inbound channels. Like I need inbound traffic obviously because that's where I get the outbound, but I'm more interested in what's going outbound. So really I only have 2 channels that are making me money, because zero fee routing has a minimal fee, or I might have even set it to 0 at this point. So this one doesn't really count. So throbbing sausage and nice hash are the only ones that have like actually produced income for me. So that probably means I need to reduce the fees on my other channels because they're not really producing for me. So let's come over here and come to my channels real quick. All right, so nice hash is doing okay. Legalized math, I don't think I've had any inbound or outbound on it. I'm thinking I'm going to wind up getting rid of legalized math because I have nothing going on in or out of legalized math. But I'm going to go ahead and check out the fee. So update fee policy. It's 25, which is really low. I mean, the lowest I can go is 0, and I don't make any money on that one. So legalized math is looking like it might be a closed channel. I'll try and do an update video in a day or 2 and talk about closing channels. I think that'll be a closing channel. All right, LN Big, we bought that for liquidity. Zero fee routing, we're not worried about it right now. Cold sats, let's see, cold sats, so in zero fee routing, out cold sats. So I did have a good transaction there. So what's my fee over here? Update fee policy, so 140, not much, but we'll leave it how it is. It had a little bit of activity on it, so I'm just gonna leave it alone. I mean, it's only been like 2 days, so not a significant amount of time. We'll give it a little more time. Throbbing sausage, again, that one's been doing pretty well. I have it, actually my things got switched around, so in and out. So actually, cold sats has not made any money for me yet, so I was wrong. It came in cold sats. So make sure you don't change your pivot table around. So I'm actually going to adjust cold sats, so update fee policy. So it looks like I might be closing cold sats here. We'll drop it to 100 and see if that works. But it did give me some inbound traffic, so we'll play that one by ear. Throbbing sausage was fine. Bcash is trash. So it's been producing some good inbound traffic. A lot of my inbound traffic is from Bcash is trash. Most of it is. So that's good, but no outbound traffic. So I might go ahead and update the fee policy here. We'll go 325. LN markets, let's see what we got going on here. So we got inbound traffic coming from LN markets, but no outbound traffic. So coming back over, we'll go ahead and update fee policy. And we'll drop that one down to 300. See what happens there. And then BFX-LND, we got nothing going on inbound or outbound on that channel. So we're going to go ahead and update the fee policy. We'll drop it down to 6, and we'll do 575 and update that channel. So we made a couple changes now based off of our analysis, and hopefully you can kind of see how it works. Basically, I'm just seeing if there's activity on these channels at this point in time. As you start to understand inbound, outbound liquidity and how fees affect that inbound and outbound liquidity, that's when you start to get involved with like charge LND, which automatically adjusts fees for you, or you might start doing automatic rebalancing and so on. Once you understand like the general flow of sats through your Lightning node. And so this was just an update, and probably I'll do one more update and we might close some channels so I can discuss that with you. But I'm hoping these updates and seeing it in real time help you out. Alrighty, so it's been 24 hours and it's time to do another check on my node, and this will be the last update for this video. But of course, optimizing your node is like an everyday, every couple day process. And of course, I do recommend trying to automate part of it using rebalance-lnd and charge LND. Again, I'm working on videos for them, links in the description below, and you'll see them if they're out. But yeah, or you can do it manually, of course. So we're just going to do one last pull down, and I'm going to make some changes. I'll probably close a couple channels so that way you can see that process as well. So yeah, I'm in ThunderHub under routing, and I just downloaded my actions, and I should have changed my start and end date real quick. Let's do that. I want to do 19 to today and fetch events, and then I'll go ahead and export it to CSV. And then I'll go ahead and open it, and you'll get to see the pivot table one more time without having to rewind the video. So insert, pivot table, okay. And we got alias in, alias out, and amount in, msat, amount out, msat. And I'll go ahead and insert a comma here, get rid of the zeros. And there we go. So these are the bold ones are the in nodes. So I'm getting inbound traffic through those nodes, and then the other ones are outbound. So let's go ahead and make a couple changes. So I'm actually going to switch over to ThunderHub for closing these channels. I can close channels inside of Ride the Lightning. I can close channel right here, but I don't know if it's going to be a collaborative close or a forced close, and I'll talk about the difference in just a second here. It doesn't give me that option, whereas ThunderHub gives me that option. So I've never tried closing a channel from Ride the Lightning because I'm not sure if it's collaborative or forced, and I want to have that option, and ThunderHub gives me that option. So we're going to switch over to ThunderHub right now. And so here are my channels. So I have Bitfinex channel right here, and there's nothing going in or out of it, but I have a decent fee right there, so I'm actually just going to go ahead and update the fee. We'll do 525 and update channel details. There we go. LN big, that's for liquidity. Nice hash, so I do have some activity on nice hash. I think it has slowed down a little bit, so I probably should lower the fee a little bit, but I'll worry about that later. Zero fee routing, not worried about it right now. Cold sats, we got let's see, I thought I saw them on here. So I've had some inbound from cold sats, so I'm going to let that one ride. Yeah, that's fine. I might lower the fee a little bit because I've had no outbound from cold sats, but I'm having some inbound. So maybe if I lower the fee a little bit, I can get some transactions flowing out my node and get more inbound traffic from cold sats, but we'll see. LN markets, let's see what I've got going on there. So I've had inbound, but no outbound from LN markets, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust that fee as well. Update details, we'll do 260. Sounds great. And actually, let's come up here to nice hash. I am going to lower it just a little bit, 775. All right, update channel. All right, coming on down here, we got Bcash is trash. So Bcash is trash. We have a good amount of inbound traffic still, so inbound's okay, but outbound got nothing going on there, so update that channel, 275. There we go. All right, legalized math. So I've got nothing going on with legalized math anywhere, inbound or outbound. And the fee for legalized math is 0 ppm right now. So I can't go lower than 0, and nothing's coming through here, probably because their fee to me is 824, which is pretty high. I don't know how to get it lowered. It might lower over time or something to that effect, but I'm not going to sit here and wait for it to change, especially when I can't get anything going out of here, even though I'm charging nothing. So for free transactions, I should get some stuff going out, and to me, it seems like a dead channel. I mean, not calling this node dead, but the channel I have open with them is just not performing. So we're going to wind up closing this one. And then Throbbing Sausage over here, we've got a fair amount of outbound from Throbbing Sausage. So that's good. I could actually probably raise the fees for Throbbing Sausage here. So I might bump it up to, let's go ahead and bump it up to a 400 and see if that continues to perform. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close out legalized math. So we're going to pop it open here. We can scroll on down the bottom and hit close channel. So we have two options here. We have force close, yes or no. And I'll be honest, I don't know the technical definition of a force close. However, the only time I use a force close is if a channel goes, or a node goes offline. Like if a node is offline for a week or usually less, I'll go ahead and force close that connection. The only way to close a channel with an offline node is to force close it. You're not going to be able to collaborative close a node that is off. So that's the only time that I do a force close, is if the channel goes offline, because force closing takes a long time. I had to force close my connection with Loop, and you can see right here pending lock time is 5 days 2 hours, and that's on top of like 8 days that I've already waited. So force closing takes a long time for the channel to close, and like this 14.1 million Bitcoin is sitting basically in limbo until this time is up, and then it'll come back to my wallet over here. But right now it's just sitting there and I can't do anything with it. So force closing is not ideal at all, but you have to do it if that node goes offline and you want to close that channel. So I'm going to go ahead and do a collaborative close. Oh, not that option. Close channel. So force close, no. So this will be a collaborative close, and it's a lot faster. To close the channel, you'll get your Bitcoin back much faster. And so in my opinion, this is the preferred method, assuming the node is online. So I'm going to go ahead and set my fee right here to 1. I checked the mempool over here and it's pretty full right now. However, it should clear out by the weekend, and I'm sure I can get this channel to close for 1 sat. So I'm just going to do that. And then I'm going to go ahead, actually I might do like 1.3 just to beat all the people that hit 1 right there. I'm going to go ahead and close channel. And then, are you sure you want to close the channel? Yes, let's go ahead and close that channel. And there we go, channel closed just like that. And you should be able to come over to pending here, and you can see that it is closing out. Now it will have to go on the blockchain and get confirmed and all that type of stuff. But it shouldn't take too long. And actually you can see that I got my Bitcoin back already. So I could actually probably go ahead and open another channel, which is what we're about to be talking about in the next section of this video. I'm finding new nodes to connect to. So that's it for managing and optimizing your node. Again, it's a continuous process of rebalancing, adjusting fees, closing channels, and opening new channels with new nodes. Alrighty, so in this video, we're going to talk about finding new nodes to go ahead and connect to increase your centrality of your Lightning node. So there's several different ways you can approach this topic. I mean, you could randomly connect to nodes and see if they work or not, or you could go to like top node lists and connect to some of those, or I'm going to show you kind of like the process that I go through. Now, I don't necessarily do this every time. Sometimes I'm following someone on Twitter and I like what they're saying and I connect to their Lightning node, or I might connect to some podcast host who has a Lightning node and just connect to their node just to, you know, support them and kind of team up with them and so on. So there's a million different reasons why you could connect to a node, but here's kind of like a research process for finding good nodes to connect to. So of course you can go to like top lists, like you can go to amboss.space and you can search for, you know, big movers or capacity increases and so on. So there's a bunch of different ways you could, you know, identify nodes, and maybe you want to connect to one of these or check them out. Or you can go to the terminal website, which we checked out earlier in this video, and, you know, it's a list of, you know, top nodes according to whatever criteria terminal has. So you could obviously go through this list here, or you could go to 1ML and you could browse 1ML and so on. So there's, you know, 8 million different ways to find different nodes you could go ahead and connect to. But then kind of once you find a node that might be interesting to connect to, you can run it through this tool right here, Lightning Node Insight, and of course link in the description down below. But kind of how it works is you'll plug in your node right here, so toad node, and then the alias or public key of another node, and it'll give you like how your grade will increase or decrease depending on if you open a channel with that node. So if we came to top performing nodes over here and we just grab this node right here just for simplicity's sake, and we just throw it in here, and we go ahead and we start, and it goes ahead and runs a simulation. Please wait, so we'll be patient. And we can see on the right hand side the gain that I would achieve by opening a channel with this node against between centrality rank, vector hubness centrality rank, and closeness hopness centrality rank. So I'm not exactly sure. Well, I guess if you hover over it, it gives you a definition of what that means, so you can read about that. And it gives you a nice little Venn diagram down here as well. And so you can take a couple different nodes and check out, the gains that you would have from them. So you might, handwrite this down and be like, if I join Chiba, I would gain 63, 51, 35. And then you might come back to this list here and check out Mad node right here and plug it into the tool and see, what grade improvement you would have by joining that node. And so you can try and find one, with the best numbers essentially. Then of course you can come over to Amboss Space here, and you can go ahead and look for the node. And just like we did on our previous analysis, we can go ahead and look at the fee reports and the ratios. Now, when you're looking for nodes to connect to, a good rule of thumb is when opening channels, you want to find nodes with low outgoing and high incoming. So low outgoing, high incoming. So we come back in here, we have low outgoing. Now our outgoing is higher than our incoming. So this might not be a profitable channel to open to. However, it might be a good one that sends sats through us. So it might be a good inbound channel, but it's probably not going to be a good outbound channel. So we're probably not going to make profit off of this one, but it could be a good inbound one. And I'm hoping that's making some sense. Over time you'll start learning about or understanding ingoing and outgoing and the fees and the rates and all that type of stuff. So if I'm speaking over your head right now, just over time you'll start to understand what would make a good profitable node, but just because it's not profitable doesn't mean it couldn't be a good source of inbound traffic. So that's something to consider. But again, you might want to do your due diligence here, see what else they're connected to down here, and see if you have a lot of overlap. If you have a lot of overlap, it might not be the best node to connect to, or it might be a good node. I mean, you did run it through this tool, so you got the scores over here, so you know that you will increase your performance X amount, so you know that a bit of detail. You could also, if they have a Twitter, you can go ahead and check them out on Twitter, see if they're actively engaged and all that type of stuff. And so you would just do your research here, and of course you could go ahead and check them out on this website as well. Check out their status and everything, how they're doing and all that type of stuff on this website. So that's one of the concepts for finding nodes to connect to. You can just go to a list or what you hear about as good nodes. You check them against this terminal website. You check them against amboss.space. You check them against this tool right here to make sure that you're going to increase your centrality ranks. And you should increase your centrality ranks no matter what node you connect to, but you want to connect to one that gives you the biggest gain, probably. And then if amboss.space checks out and the terminal website checks out and they seem like good quality nodes, then you might want to go ahead and connect to them. And again, you can always disconnect from them or close the channel if it's not working out. It's not like you're getting married to them or anything like that. It's opening and closing is a simple process. And as long as the Bitcoin fees are low, it's not that big of a deal. So that's kind of the strategy there. Now also, LnRouter, they just launched a new tool where you can go ahead and they'll recommend who you can partner with. So this could be another way to find good nodes. It does cost some money. So we're going to go through that process real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And it gives us a message that we need to go ahead and sign. So we'll go ahead and copy this message. And then we can go to Ride the Lightning over here. You'll see an option for under Lightning for sign/verify. So tap into that or click into it. And then you go ahead and paste the message to sign. You hit sign. It'll generate a signature. Go ahead and copy that signature. And then we come back over here and you go ahead and paste that signature in there. And it shows you welcome Toad node. So you should hopefully see your node name there. Then we go ahead and log in. And then I'm going to go to the account up here. And I can see that I'm currently on the free plan. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade to the pro plan. So I'll tap on get it. And so I can do 1 month, 3 month, or 6 month right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab the 1 month right now. And of course, we're presented with the Lightning invoice, so we'll just go ahead and copy it, come over to Ride the Lightning, and then I'm going to go ahead and come to Transactions. I'm going to send a payment, paste in the invoice there. I could, of course, select a channel I want it to go out of. And I'm going to go ahead and select it to go out of zero fee routing. I'm going to go ahead and send this payment. And there we go. Come back over here. Upgrade successful. And we see right away it says, how do I get started? And we got channel recommender here. So I'm going to click into there. And I can come on down here. And it gives me a list of recommended channels that I could go ahead and connect to. And there's that centrality word as well. And it seems to play a large part into their ranking here, but they also have routing score, node response time, and balanced channels. So you can kind of go through here. I mean, you could just connect blindly to them if you want to. Or, of course, you could, if you're like, I'm not too sure about, open node, you could come back to this website. You could plug it into here and do a simulation. Or go to amboss.space or the Lightning Terminal website and double check just to make sure, that they actually seem to be a good peer. And basically do your research and go through that same process again of, checking them out on Twitter and all that type of stuff. If they have a Twitter, of course. So that's how I go about finding different nodes to open channels with. Alrighty, so I think this is the last segment of the video, and I'm kind of backtracking here to this send receive payments section. So we've talked about sending several times. We sent to ourselves on Moon Wallet, we sent to LnRouter to pay an invoice, and now I'm going to show you another way to send, which is called a key send, and then we'll talk for a second about receiving payments, which is pretty self-explanatory. So this will be a quick section, but I realized I didn't completely cover it during the video. So we talked about paying an invoice, so we got that one down already. So another way you could go ahead and pay somebody is with a key send. So if you don't have an invoice and you want to send someone some sats, you can go ahead and send them a key send where they don't have to send you an invoice first. You just send them some sats and they'll collect them basically. Now a thing about key send is no one's notified that you sent them a key send, so they'll just have some new sats in their Lightning node, and they might not know where they came from unless you write a note. And the only way to write a note is if you do it with command line, and I'm not going to show you that in this video, but I have another video on how to do a command line key send. So if you want to send a note with your key send, watch that video, link in the description. But if you just want to send somebody like a tip, basically, so a blind tip, somebody helped you out, and you want to send them some sats, that's what the key send is essentially for. And I think the only way to do it really is with ThunderHub. So hopefully ThunderHub is working, and we'll give it a shot. So here we are in main ThunderHub, and we just go to send here, and then we have the option for is key send. So we'll go ahead and hit yes, and then you just throw in the public key, so who you want to send it to. So you can get that, of course, from 1ML or amboss.space or wherever you want to get it from. And I'm going to go with Preston Pish. He's a podcaster, great podcast, smart guy. And we grab the public key right here. And then we come back over to ThunderHub and we just throw that public key in there and hit decode. And then we can say how many sats we want to send him. So I'm just going to do 5,000 sats, and we'll go ahead and hit send. And poof, payment is sent. So Preston Pish just made 5,000 sats. Doesn't know that it came from me. Doesn't know why he got it, but there you go. You're welcome, Preston. So that's how that works. The key send. And again, if you want to send a note, link in the description down below. You gotta do it with command line. Now, when it comes to receiving payments, so you need to generate an invoice from your node, and then you can go ahead and pay that invoice or have somebody else pay that invoice, right? So to do that, of course, in ThunderHub, and then I'll show you in Ride the Lightning, we'll click on receive here. So amount to receive, I'll just do 1,000 sats, no big deal, and test, and seconds to expiration. So if you want to put an expiration date in there, so we'll do 1 hour, include private channels, we'll say no. So create invoice, so there's the invoice. So I can go ahead and scan the QR code or send somebody the QR code or the invoice like that. So I'm going to actually just pop up my phone real quick because I have it ready to go. Let's see, where'd my phone go? So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and tap on pay, and then I'm going to type on this little QR code. It depends on what wallet you have, and found the QR code, scanned it, and there it is, 43 cents. I'm going to go ahead and confirm it. Oh, and just like that, it's been paid. So lightning fast, but that's simple enough on how you make an invoice. and then ride the Lightning, same type of concept. We can come to, well, we're under Lightning and transactions. I can go to invoices here and create invoice, and I can go ahead and do this right here. So, test an amount, 1,000 sats or whatever. I can set an expiration, and the same option here, private routing hints, and then create the invoice. And for some reason I got an issue here. I think I clicked it twice for some reason. So here, view info here. So there's my invoice. So again, I could just open my wallet and pay it. I'm not going to do it again because I don't need to keep sending myself 1,000 sats, but you get the idea, right? So that's how you go ahead and, how you pay invoices, like I previously discussed, how you send a key send, and then how you can generate invoices to receive payments through the Lightning Network. And I think that pretty much covers this video here. I really hope you found it helpful. It's a long video, and if you want to show your support, I appreciate you connecting to my node. So you know how to do that now, and I'll include a link to my listing on amboss.space, and you can go ahead and connect my node, open a channel with me, and that'd be awesome. Also, feel free to ask questions and all that stuff in the comments down below. I'll do my best to answer them. YouTube has a lot of spam, and it's kind of obnoxious, but I'll try and do my best to answer your questions. And yeah, I hope you found it helpful. Likes, comments, subscribes are greatly appreciated, or share this video. That'd be awesome too if you found it helpful. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of the day.